Good afternoon to everyone that is watching this video. I am here today with my good friend, Captain Schumacher. He has a suggestive name. He probably likes speed like all of us do. And Captain Schumacher, please, would you be kind to give us a quick overview of your career in aviation, please?
Well, my name is Leonardo Schumacher. I am 33 years old, flying commercial aviation since 2011, so almost 9 years now. Total flight time 5,000 around 5,100 hours. I've been flying Pocket 100s, Pocket 100 aircraft, Airbus A320 family, 319, 320, and 321. And the Airbus A330. Basically, the freighter version didn't have the chance to fly the passenger one.
Nice.
Pretty much around flying jets, yeah, 8 to 9 years.
That's good. And currently, are you flying? Are you on unpaid leave? What's your status today?
Yeah, and today I'm unfortunately on unpaid contract termination. My contract with my former employee was terminated due to this pandemic situation. The last employment was with Air Astana in Kazakhstan, flying Airbus 320, 321. Been there with total contract times 6 months.
6 months, okay. And
yes.
Before you joined Air Astana, did you try other companies? Did you go through other assessments and screenings?
Yes, I did. Well, basically, my screening experience abroad was two before Air Astana. The first one, when I was first officer on the A330, I made an application with Qatar Airways. So I did all the online tests, all the psychological things, and then they said, okay, you can come to Doha and do the for the personal interview and simulator. And there, total 5 days. Was a great experience for me because you see, sometimes as we when you start flying like on a Brazilian carrier, you as a pilot, you think that, wow, I could try to go abroad and fly. Mm-hmm. But then you have all those limitations and things that to think, oh, might be difficult, might be not, and am I going to make it or not? Mm-hmm. So this how can I say, this leap of faith that I did was pretty good, and it's a very enlightening opportunity to see that I can do it. So, nice. Yes. Well, there I was in Doha, and then 3 days, basically first ATPL, 50 questions, 1 hour, and then you do the ATPL test, and then you go to the personal interview. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the interview can be intimidating because, like, you sit there, you are not in your country, and you are applying for a job. It's like as I remember when I was there, 15 guys maybe were trying the same spot that I was trying. So you can be very intimidating in a way that you said, okay, how can I come over the top and get this job for me? So like very good preparation is the key for nailing.
And it is a very challenging. It's a challenging environment when you're being assessed, right? And you have not only to show your skills, but you have to sell them. You have to make them believe that you are the best candidate. And what is the level of importance you would give the English proficiency on a assessment like this?
It's all actually because you see, uh, you get aircraft knowledge. Like you don't know first you don't know which aircraft you're going to fly, but like you get general knowledge preparation for the ATPL. But I think the English is the most important one because first you're going to do a test, an ATPL test, which is in English. So you have to be able to read that information and and understand what is it to answer the correct question.
Of course.
You know, of course. Then after this, you go to the personal interview. In my case, was two captains. And after this, if you can't succeed in the interview, you go to the simulator, which you will have the flight instructor and another guy from anywhere in the world, and you have to perform maneuvers and things. As you said, you must tell them that you are the best, that you can do it, and that you are the most capable guy for uh, that job.
Yes.
So the English preparation is, for me, it's like if we could put 40-60, you know, 40% technical knowledge and 60% improve your English.
That's I agree with you. I think English plays a very important role because if you know something but you cannot pass the message, it's the same thing that if you didn't know it. So it is
Yeah,
very important to be able to provide precise information and make yourself understandable to
yeah.
the assessment crew. And was this the first time you faced this type of situation to be on an environment with non-native speakers and having to perform in English?
No, actually, my first situation that I had was even before commercial aviation. I was doing all my licenses here in Porto Alegre, which is the city that I live. I was finishing my commercial multi-engine in IFR, and after that, you see, you finish everything, you have to go and look for a job.
Yes.
That's the thing. I found out a private plane, Piper Seneca, and there was a captain that helped us when we like the guys that were finishing their licenses to build up the hours. So like we have one flight a week, two flight a week, and then uh, I started to fly with these guys. These guys here in Porto Alegre, the aircraft was based here, and so maybe like one flight a week, two flight a weeks. But I was like a freelance. I was working to build the hours.
Yes.
No payment, no nothing. I think everyone
All
in
pilots can
some
relate
part of
to that. Yeah.
yeah, everyone in some part of their lives passed through that. But parallel to that, I was looking for a job, and then I found a job flying a small commuter Piper Navajo here in Porto Alegre as well. Basically, flying money to the countryside, back and forth to the capital. 6 months later, uh, the the owner from the previous aircraft that I was flying called me and said, "Look, we are buying a Phenom Embraer 500, a Phenom 100 jet. Would you like to come back and fly for us as a first officer?" I said, "Hell yeah, that's count me in." And then, but there was one catch. So there was a catch.
Yeah.
It was 2010, and then there wasn't any Embraer 500 simulator in Brazil that time.
Oh,
The only two simulators, the Phenom 100, the only two Phenom 100 simulators available at that time was in Texas and at Borges Hill. That is a city in the south of England.
yeah.
And I said, okay, I want to, I have to go there and do my type rating. That was the situation that was presented. But the company said, but one part of the contract, since I was a very low experienced pilot at that time, I got 200 and at that time maybe 300 hours
Mm-hmm.
prop hours. They said you have to do like a self sponsored type rate, like because they didn't uh, at that time they said as you are not so experienced and the Phenom 100 that time we didn't have the position for first officer.
Yes, it's a single
You
pilot.
don't, yeah, very light jet. So it's only captain. So
Mm-hmm.
try to believe you with 250 hours, maybe 300 hours, and then you go abroad. The first experience with simulator, and there is a chance that I couldn't even think on let go. Like I
Mm-hmm.
managed to do everything to catch it. So basically, I've started. I had some a little money that I saved and everything. Then I said, in the end, I asked for my father for a loan so I could go to do my type rating abroad. I said, my father at that time said, okay, count me in. How much do you need? I started to talk with CAE and then made all the arrangements. And then, so I went to England for 22 days doing the type rating of Phenom 100.
Nice.
Uh, Self-sponsored, so pretty much a big amount of family money on that endeavor. So there was this pressure that you have to succeed. So there I was studying the jet, but also everything was on English.
Yes.
At that time, at the CIE in Burgess Hill, they didn't have any Brazilian instructor, nothing,
Mm-hmm.
zero. So what was the normal schedule for a Brazilian pilot to go there was you go there, have the all the sim sessions, ground school with local guys, and then ANAC examiner travels to England and then assess you on the simulator.
Mm-hmm.
When I went there, I would do all the ground school sim sessions and everything, and then would come back to Brazil and do my assessment on the aircraft, the real one. There was that possibility at the time. Because one thing for me to send a self sponsored at that time to send a ANAC
Examiner.
examiner to England, it was like 10,000 more.
Yes, just for the check, right? Yes.
Yeah, just for the check, right? Yeah. So I did a settlement with the company that we could they would pay me for my check ride on the aircraft
Mm-hmm.
when I was back in Brazil. But the thing is that there was first reading Afghans in English of first jet all the time. Then you have like the static cockpit, so to train all the um, procedures, the scan flows, everything, and then go to the real sim, full motion simulator. Uh, I had uh, an instructor that his credentials were like fantastic. The guy flew 747 with British Airways. He flew uh, global Bombardier Global Express at that time. So he was a retired 747 captain from British Airways. He was flying a Global Express as a business jet, and he was also at the CIE at that time, teaching young everyone, giving simulators and everything. So I had to make good communication and to fully understand and fully get the most of that experience, I had to have a good English, and that and the good English paid off because me and my brother, we're 2 years apart. We study English since kids, but it's like a constant self improvement uh, of English. Just don't believe that you did your English classes and then okay, you don't need to read anymore, and you don't because that good English, that self improvement gave me my first shot in commercial aviation. Because after I did that, all the Phenom 100 experience and in England, and then I came back. I flew for like 100 from 20 hours maybe on the jet, and then Avianca called me for an assessment, and I remember that when I was being interviewed by the chief pilot of Avianca that time, he looked and said, "Oh, nice that you went to England and made all you had all that experience on your back," and that gave me my this was my entrance door for commercial aviation.
That's very, very nice. I like that you said that you started to study English on a very young age,
Yeah,
you and your brother.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
perhaps a good, it was a good gift that your father, your mother gave to you,
yeah,
to both of you, that
yeah,
got you prepared for what was coming. And when you had this challenge really early in your career, right? You only had 250, 300 hours, and you have to
yeah,
go abroad for a flight simulator with an English guy, which
yeah,
has the pronunciation is different than the one we used from the movies and from the
yeah,
English lessons in Brazil. So when you have to face all that, it really pays off to have a good English to be able to handle
yeah,
those situations. And as you said, that was your entrance to commercial aviation. So if your
yeah,
English was poor and you were afraid of going abroad for this Phenom 100, what
yeah.
could have gone wrong with your career? You will never know.
Yeah, yeah, you could took a different path. We don't know, but uh, as I see it and as I understand it, we are as pilots. We need to understand that uh, if you want to go to commercial aviation, it's basically pure English,
Yes,
manuals, documentations, phraseology,
yes,
inter-cockpit communication, everything. But not just for aviation, but for your life itself, because
yes, yes. And today, in the globalization, has brought aviation to a different level than it was before. Because
yeah,
now, even guys that never wanted to fly abroad, people
yeah,
that wanted to settle down in their home country,
yeah,
they eventually may have to face this situation. Like we were both flying for Avianca. You had this
yeah,
desire from before. You said that when you were a first officer on the A330, you were already looking for a job abroad. I was the opposite. I lived abroad, and since I moved back to Brazil, I didn't want to go away from Brazil anymore. And then we were both facing the same situation. We had no
yeah,
option. We had to go fly abroad. So even
yeah,
people that don't want to fly abroad, it's better for them to be prepared because this market is unpredictable.
yeah. The good thing is that you always have to have, I don't know if escape route is the word,
Hmm.
correct word to use in this case, but how can I say it? As more prepared you are, not in aviation, but in every field, uh, less job you will have by trying to find any uh, job interviewers. something related to that.
Yes.
Of course, that what we are seeing today is like an unprecedented situation. But as I understand, uh, we will have an abundance of pilots in the market
Hmm.
because everyone, yeah, unfortunately, is getting fired. In very capable people,
Yes.
very capable people are getting fired. Uh, you see in Emirates and the news, you see on many places, British Airways, you see in many places, very capable guys are being fired. So I think that after all this pandemic situation passed, we might see an increase on requirements on airlines
Hmm.
assessment because they might see it. Okay, we have lots of pilots, so we can pick the better ones.
Yes. Yes, for
Yes.
sure. It will be the opposite of what it was 2 years ago. Now
Yeah.
we are the ones looking for a job. Back then, they were the
Yeah.
ones looking for pilots. So
For
it's a
looking for
different
you. Yeah.
it's a different game now, and it's good to have good tools to be able to uh, reposition to get a good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. One interesting thing. When I previous company Avianca uh, called me, she said, "Do you want to fly the A330?" And I said, "Yes, I really want." But at that time, I was, if I look to my hours, and I was not so far to get the marks for upgrade on the 320.
Hmm.
But even so, I decided to go to the 330 because that chance, that experience to fly a heavy jet on primarily United States was one of the best things as a first officer that happened to me because we are operating on a weekly basis at Miami and sometimes one time we had to alternate to Fort Lauderdale, but operating all South America in the United States. So that gave me a perspective that a good perspective that
Hmm.
time that as many experiences you get and as well prepared you are,
Hmm.
you will always it will be better for you, you
Yes,
know.
I agree.
So that experience that time flying the A330 it delayed my upgrade maybe I don't know 2 years, but I was very pleased and I
Yes,
wouldn't make any modifications in what I did
yes,
because the experience that I had flying abroad, flying a heavy jet, and even so flying to the United States because
absolutely.
uh, in that part of flying internationally, uh, flying abroad out of Brazil, you have different types of preparation. Then you have to look to Japson manual,
Yes.
something local regulations, entry requirements,
Mm-hmm.
ATC, something things different. Then maybe you have to go to far aim on the United States because you have a lot of different things. I remember one time we were approaching to runway 09 and I saw the land and hold short uh, uh, thing on the runway.
Yeah, the
It's like,
marks.
God, yeah, the marks, the lights on the runway that you have to
Mm-hmm.
land and you hold short on the runway because you have a crossing runway
Yeah, runway
in
12, I
another
believe.
direction. So that gave me that I had to go to the Japson manual and far end and that perspective on understanding, even though having a good English to understand regulations is
Mm-hmm.
important because try to believe that you uh, make a maybe tiny mistake, but can be a hazardous mistake with this kind of situation,
For sure.
and maybe, uh, and that's why the English is important. You have to it's a like a lifetime preparation.
Yes,
as I like to say. You, even when you have like 80s or 90s, when you're full bold, which is my case now, but I have 33, uh, you still have to be getting prepared, keep studying, or
yes.
maybe watching movies in English and whatsoever, because that will be essential for you.
Yes, for us, there are no native speakers. It is very important to keep our skills sharp because if you don't practice, you're going to lose your fluency, you're going
Yeah,
to forget your vocabulary, and you will lose your ability to understand what people is saying because we were not born there. So this is not our
yeah,
first language. This is an acquired skill, and we have
yeah,
to keep it sharp. And by
yeah,
keeping it sharp for us in aviation is to talk because we have to read a lot. But when we read, usually it's not out loud. We read it to
yeah,
ourselves. But
yeah,
we have to talk a lot in English. It's either with our colleague in the cockpit, or an instructor, or ATC, or a flight attendant, a passenger, or there are so many situations that I can name, the maintenance or whatever.
yeah,
So we have to talk a lot, especially if you're flying abroad. Your ability to talk is the most important one because you're
yeah.
going to be doing that a lot.
That experience flying for Air Astana in the past 6 months was the most clarifying thing that I had regarding to how your communication must be direct and concise. Because you know, uh, even on my wildest dreams, I didn't even think that I would fly in Kazakhstan. You know,
Yeah.
and I remember when I was doing my line training, we land in Aktobi, you know what it is.
Yes.
And then my first time that the instructors there, they said, "You handle all operation. You're the captain. Work with it." And then the maintenance come, and then okay, they are Russians, and then start to speak Russian with you, and then you go with the English, but you have to understand that that guy of maintenance doesn't speak English as native. He's
Yes.
not a native speaker in English, so you
Yeah.
have to then think on a way to say that I want such and such thing
Mm-hmm.
in a way that you understand it, and he will do it.
Yes.
Uh, it's even flying on the cockpit because you're flying with a guy that speaks Russian for his entire life. And now he's with a Brazilian on his side that speaks Portuguese, and both have to meet on the middle by speaking English.
Yes, this is a very interesting situation, this multicultural
Yeah,
environment when you have different people from different backgrounds. None of them
yeah,
are native speakers and they are all speaking in English. You have to keep the message really simple. You have to talk really not slow, but you have to make yourself really understandable. So talking fast is not going to help you.
yeah. It's not. You have to put in your mind that you have to make the sentence on your head and then transmit that sentence to everyone which will listen to it. I remember when we were at Air Astana one day doing a CRM class.
Hmm.
We were at the CRM class. Uh, there was guys from England, France, Ecuador, Croatia, Venezuela, the
Wow.
Kazakh guys. And so
It's like a
put
United
everyone,
Nations convention.
yeah, put everyone on the same room and in a CRM class.
Nice.
So basically, you have to be able to understand that
Yes.
and make yourself understood by the others, like
Sure.
transmit
You have to be
everything
clear. And
in a good
Schumacher,
cadence.
are you still trying to improve your language skills or just keeping the rust off? How are you handling this?
The main thing for me at this moment is I like to read a lot, so uh, I tend to look for English books, like not in aviation subject, but all subjects, to try to maintain my English. So basically, reading in English is a good thing.
Yeah.
Movies also, for me, is I don't know, 10 to 12 years that I don't see a movie with subtitles anymore. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, movies in English are one of primarily thing that me and
Yes.
my wife, we were doing this quarantine time because so you can improve your reading and your listening.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and for studying aircraft, I tend to study using lots of notes. I take a lot of notes.
Mm.
Like if I show you my handbooks in the house of the Airbus, like something that big,
Bigger than the iPhone.
with yeah, with notes and things, and all my notes are in English.
Nice.
So uh, because then the Afcon or the FCTMs are in English, so it's normally and naturally that all the personal notes are in English. So primarily reading a lot was my main cue, and to keep my English on shape on this quarantine times.
That's a good advice. And by your level of English, we can tell how much you have applied yourself to this. And even with a good English like yours, you faced some challenging situations, and sometimes you were not so sure of how the outcome was going to be. And that just comes to show us how important it is for us, airline professionals, to keep our English really sharp and keep dedicating ourselves to improving this ability that we have. Schumacher, I would like to thank you very much for your time. I'm sure your testimonial will help many people to keep practicing, keep studying, and trying to improve their knowledge. And hope to see you back in the skies really soon.
Me too. It was a pleasure. Fantastic chat. And the most, my biggest hopes now is that all the colleagues that will be on the sky pretty soon, and we will be looking back to this and say we made it through these difficult times, and we will see like light skies and good winds ahead.
That's nice. Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.